go into for this session. So I'm really excited and I'm just going to dive in, and I'm really honored that you showed up today again. And this something that's very dear to my heart because this is something that I've been working through and I've worked through, and it's so important to share this particular topic around visibility because there's so many women leaders and spiritually conscious women who face this topic, who face this journey so often. And I see a lot of talented, amazing, incredibly women, women that often have a gift and a message to share in the world. But because of our visibility, because of our hesitation on visibility, we hold back. So I'm not gonna rattle off today because it's a really packed session and I have a lot to dive into. And I'd love to know where you are on your journey and how visibility feels for you, and also what's been happening in that space around visibility. Is it something that you're really comfortable with? Is it something that when you think about being seen, and when I talk about visibility, this isn't showing up and then being polished and nice. I'm talking about visibility as in being the real, raw, authentic you. What does that bring up? And so oftentimes I tend to see the same things when I speak to women and when I speak to the clients I have. And that's why I wanted to do this live today, because I said this is something that also I've personally experienced as well and had to work through. And it can feel like a roller coaster that when we're trying to manifest or bring something into this life, into this world, into this being, we tend to say, I need more clarity, or I need more confidence, or I need to be more confident. I need to be more polished and I need to be more like so and so. But I'm a big believer now in that clarity and confidence gets confused with certainty. And if we keep going how we're going, we're just going to get the same results. And what I mean by that is clarity doesn't mean I know what I need to do. Certainty, the difference between clarity and certainty, how I see it, is this. Certainty is I need to know exactly what steps to take, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, to get to the end state results, because that's the result I want. While clarity for me is I don't know what that path looks like, but I'm going to take a step, and each step will unfold something. And the more I do that, the more confident I'll get because I know what is working and what's not working. And that's why I mean when I say I think clarity and confidence, clarity, confidence always gets confused with certainty. And let's just face it, if life was absolutely certain, it would be so fucking boring. So in my world, I think, this gets to be sexy and ease. It's not simple. If it was simple, everyone would be doing it, but it can get to be done with ease. And so I see a lot of spiritual women, a lot of spiritually conscious women that say, I'm waiting for this download to get more clarity. I'm waiting for this download to have more more confidence, to figure out what to do to run my business. Or I'm waiting for this download to figure out what the next step is. But the God's honest truth is this. It's not sustainable and it's going to deplete you energetically as well. If you keep waiting for these downloads to come in before you move and keep waiting, or you wait for these downloads and then act, it's only going to cause more anxiety, more chaos, and more confusion. And so what we need is a system and structures around the strategy and the methodology, and this is a methodology that I've talked about later on, that I've sort of working with clients and working, on my own journey, I've developed, um, that you don't need to wait. You don't need to figure it out, because there's an inherent self-trust. And by having that methodology, having that system that is really aligned to who you are and tailored around your energetic state, you start to build your business and lead accordingly. So your strategy works for you, not by you working harder. And then, you work hard and harder, which gets even more depletive. And then you're wondering, when are things going to work out? When are things going to shift? When are things going to move? Instead of intentionally moving forward. So the methodology around visibility it's, I say it's simple. It's literally a full, and if it was totally easy, everyone would be doing it and everyone would be having the results. But it takes persistency. And so what I'm going to be sharing with you is a process that anyone can use, and anyone can use to check in around where they are about their visibility threshold and what's really blocking them, or what's really blocking you there in terms of what's holding you back from being that full on magnetic, just oozing, showing up, um, just in the fullness of who you are. And I give you, I share this example that really sort of sparked this for me. I was watching the BAFTAs, and I saw that there was there's an award for Dana Langley, and Emma Thompson did a recording, she did a video. And, her hair was all over. Yes, it was staged, but you can tell. But, even so, she showed up, no makeup, hair just completely unkempt in her kitchen. Kitchen was an absolute mess. But that was her. That was her message, was just so potent. And she was like, yes, I'm showing up, no makeup. I was asked to do this really quick, da 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 da. And I'm here and I'm doing this, and I can't believe I'm live doing this. And that is when I talk about being visible, being seen, is being seen in your soul's truth and the truth of who you are. And that's, if you're running your business that way and if you're leading that way, your tribe will find you. Your people will know that, yeah, she is for me. So what I'll share today is just that you don't need the next shiny new toy. You don't need the next retreat. You don't need to journal your way into visibility. You don't need to affirm your way or stand in the mirror every day saying, I am visible, I'm good enough to be visible. That is the old way. What it takes is mastery of your energetics and all the different ways you're ready to live your truth. That is it. And so over the last 3 years, I've dialed into changing and shifting and transforming my energetics. And I've told this story before, and I'll share it again if you're new to my world. But 3 years ago, I was in a state of having been iced out professionally from a job that I completely loved, thriving, absolutely thriving, loving everything I was doing about myself, but still that niggling in the back of my mind that something was missing or something wasn't quite there. I went through a stage where I just felt really lost. Oh, I thought I was lost. And what I didn't appreciate was what was being shown to me was self-advancement in a way, what people call struggle. What I called a struggle was self-advancement and lessons, life lessons. So when I was going through this period, wondering what's wrong with me, what's not working, why doesn't anything ever work out for me? Why can't I have the business that everyone else have? Why can I not have the careers that my friends have? Why can I not have all these things? I didn't recognize and appreciate that I was playing into that narrative. I was playing into that story. So I was getting more of what I was asking for. And so when I dialed into transforming my energetics and expanding my energetics and moved away from the imprints and the traumas that I'd experienced, and it wasn't that I bypassed or cleared, go, oh, I'm not going to talk about them. I leaned into them completely unfiltered. Things started to show up to show me that I actually had a set point. And there were life lessons or experiences that the journey that I was on, I needed to process, and I could not bypass them. I could not override them, but they needed attention. And one of the things that for me was I had worked in an environment where I was always behind the scene, always delivering results, but always behind the scene. And I recognized that I was being called forward to be more visible with the truth of my message and the truth of who I am. And I resisted that for a really long time. I resisted and resisted and was like, no, I'm not that girl. I am not that one. And then I moved to, okay, maybe I am, but I need to show up in a certain way. I need to be polished. I need to have the right hairstyle. I need to look a certain way. I need to be a certain weight. I need to have certain items of clothing and all the different things that we tell ourselves, but no one really cares about. And that just made me even more frustrated, more stuck, more angry, more rage internally. And I suppressed it and suppressed it. So no wonder I was getting more of the same stuff. So when I stopped and go, okay, what is it that needs to happen? I didn't need more clarity. I didn't need more confidence. I didn't need more strategy. It was a different, things started to shift and shift in a really different way. So I went from seeing visibility as being under attack and success as being success means I'm a target, or that money is means more exposure, or I'll be judged. And that's what I also see what in a lot of my clients that I work with. It's like this, I'll I'll show or share just a tiny bit of myself, and then everything will be fine. Or I'll just show what I want to show. But what we don't realize is that our energy travels and people pick up on what we're portraying, what we're giving out. So overcoming that block on visibility is not going to work if we're sort of like, okay, I'm just going to have a hypnosis to overcome it, or I'll just focus on more mindset work, or I'll just write it out 50 times that I'm visible, I'm visible, I'm visible. Or I'll look at my human design and see how I'm designed to be more abundant, or how I'm designed to make money, or how I'm designed to be visible. Because these things are at the stage of taking you from where you are right now. None of those, they're good in their own way and they work. But here's my issue. Here's my thing with them. None of them takes you back to dissolving or dismantling the blocks and beliefs internally, whilst expanding your bubble to believe that visibility is safe. So if your body is going through the lens and your nervous system is scanning for danger constantly, and you're looking at your astrology chart saying, this is how I'm meant to be abundant, or this is how I'm meant to market, this is how I'm meant to lead my business. Or if you're looking at your human design chart saying, this is how I'm supposed to be abundant, or this is my spleen, or, I project from my spleen, whatever it is. If you're not at the stage of not even understanding, but connecting with those limiting beliefs and with those internal blocks that needs dismantling, whilst also concurrently expanding your bubble to feel safe, you will never expand into the magnetic, potent leader that you are, because you'll be constantly scanning for danger, constantly limiting yourself and having a hard time going past a certain level, because you're not able to see that what's actually going on in your energetic field, in your field, is that there is a set point. So even if you have an amazing couple of months or quarter, you will return back to that set point. And the analogy I'll use for this around the visibility and the reason that set point comes in specifically for being visible is this. If you watch Star Trek or any of those sci-fi films, you'll see or hear them talk about a cloaking device. So if you imagine that even before childhood, whether it's, handed down through your generations, through epigenetics, through your cells, through your DNA, from past through your soul, and then coupled with family genetics, you took on an imprint and a belief that says to be visible means danger. I'm going to be attacked. If I am seen to be wildly successful, I'm going to be judged and I'm going to be attacked. So I'm just going to share a little bit of me and I'll just limit my success. What's actually going on is this. There's a cloaking device in your energetic field and it's invisible, so you're not able to see it, or, you might sense it or feel something's off. But that cloaking device shrouds you from your tribe, from the people that have manifested you, from actually seeing you. So at a certain point in your business, you'll expand, but not beyond a certain point. In relationships, you'll grow to a certain point, and that cloaking device is dimming your light so much that it becomes so difficult to shift your frequency. So when someone says, I've shifted my frequency and I raised my vibration, and this is why I you've had me say this before, you do not raise your vibration. Because if you raise it, it's temporary. It always comes back to the set point. But when you clear that cloaking device, when you're moving into that space of no longer journaling, no longer affirming, but going within that internal energetic point and seeing what comes up and seeing the rage that you feel about why you're at this set point, why the business is limited to this point, or, why is it that you feel like something is off? And telling yourself the story of, oh, there must be something wrong with me, or I must be broken, or I must not be meant for this. That is none of that. that is because there's that cloaking device that's revealing to you that it's time to remove it. And so the rage that you might feel that you're not expressing, and this is a personal story that I'll share at this point, because I had this belief that being spiritual, you should be positive and really focus on the positive all the time and do not focus on the negatives, blah, 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 blah. And that was constricting me. And I felt this deep rage and anger inside myself. And I was like, no, it's fine. Things are working out. Everything's fine. Life is good. It's great. What more can I want for? I should be grateful. All the usual stuff. And it wasn't until I got angry and go, no, I am not fucking satisfied with what I've got. And the rage that came up and being able to express that rage, not through journaling, not through affirming and not through beating anyone up, I would just say, or, not sort of physical, but that sheer rage that came through my voice, that came through my body, revealed to me the imprints that I was carrying from my generation and from myself, and how that had been magnified into this huge cloaking device because I was the one who was always being polite. I was the one who's always trying to keep the peace. I was the one that was always being professional. Someone would say something in a meeting and I would be, oh, no, I'm sure they didn't mean it that way. I was that person. And that rage that I was having was not integrated. And if we're not integrating the rage and the anger, then being visible is always going to be seen as dangerous. And then that then becomes this like snowball effect, because it then says, if I'm not visible, as a leader, as a business owner, part of our job is to be seen, is to be visible. And so that means that by holding back, we're resisting wealth and we're resisting money or more money, because we've equated somewhere along the line, our nervous system and our body and our subconscious has equated the visibility as danger. And the story beneath that is, if I don't show up in a certain way, there'll be a loss of status, there'll be a loss of reputation, there'll be a loss of clients, or I'll be a laughingstock, or people will judge me. I'll make myself look a fool. And so if that is not being integrated and being equated into the visibility, we will keep seeing it as, by being visible, by showing up, by showing the truth of who we are, then I'm going to die. It's the same as I'm going to die. And it sounds ridiculous when I'm speaking it. I'm like, do you realize how ridiculous that sounds? But it is so true. And so we need a framework that first identify what the body is holding on to, what the subconscious is holding on to, what the soul is holding on to be able to release that rage, to be able to release that constriction and that lack of expression. And it's actually, the good thing about this is when you have this, it doesn't mean you're showing up in an aggressive way or, you're the angry bird, etc. It's actually freeing up more life force energy and breaking through your set point. So that means that you're expanding and shifting your frequency in a coherent way that permanently moves your frequency. And clearing out those old imprints and transmuting that becomes magnetic. So people will go, I don't know what you're doing or how you're doing it, but you look so different. What's going on? Or your message has changed. And so what that means is you're no longer telling yourself that you're blocked. You're no longer telling yourself that you're broken. You're no longer telling yourself that you're invisible because you need another certificate or you lack skill or you're comparing yourself or your results to other people that are way ahead of you. It means that you'll be able to surface those things that you're carrying that are not meant for you. So the suppressed expression, the unprocessed anger, that protective cloak, the association with visibility and success being seen as danger or worse, death, all of that slows you down. And because we're not expressing that or releasing it, the part that needs to be expressed, it then forms into your brand and builds into your brand, which again becomes like this energetic layer that this sort of builds on top of each other and being sort of, think of it as like being sort of that calcified, or if you live in a hard water area and you see the water just hardened and hardened. And so, by releasing those things and reminding yourself that, like, I have a truth that needs to be expressed without thinking that I need to do it in a way that my mentor speaks about it. I need to talk about it in a way that everyone else on the internet or everyone else online is talking about it. It has to be the way that you communicate it, the way that you deliver it, the way that you master your topic. So if you're an author, or if you're a podcaster, or a marketer, whatever it is that you are, a creative, a founder, if the way you stand out and what makes you unique is the mastery of your voice and the expression of your voice and the way you visibly express that. So the question that I would ask now is, knowing that you're a leader and not a follower, what do you want to be known for? What do you want to be known for that you speak on, like, just end of hours and riff off about? And these are the things that, you feel confident about, rather than trying to speak like someone else, rather than trying to do it, the way someone else does it. Because when you are absolutely focused on your expertise and you're focused on that expression, that visibility, that voice expression, and what makes you feel good, the confidence is not only, that's when your confidence comes. And that's when you start to reveal those areas that requires the attention, because you're ready to surface them. You're ready to deal with them. You're ready to step into that true leadership, the absolute leader that you are. And so the second question that really focuses in on the confidence and the clarity is, where are you avoiding taking responsibility for your work? And what I mean by that is not that, oh yes, this is my work and I'm responsible. It's like, where are you radically, creatively, innovatively showing that this isn't even my work, this is my vocation, this is what I'm here to do? Because if we tend to avoid responsibility, and that links to compliments as well, someone says, oh, your work is amazing, it's magnificent, it changes lives, and you simply say, oh yeah, it's nothing really, I enjoy it. That is suppressing your expression. And, again, women are taught to be modest, women are taught to tone ourselves down. But that expression of fuck yes, that's my work. And that's the results. That is signaling to your body, into your subconscious that actually, yeah, this is really safe for me. So I'm not going to hesitate, or I'm not going to resist taking responsibility for my work. This is my work. This is what I'm here to do. And so the people that needs to pay attention to your work will pay attention. And the people who wants to experience your work, the people who you're ready to lead for in sharing your work will show up. And those that are being pulled into your world in that way that says that whatever that person is doing, I need to have some of it. And so the final question around this is like, like, are you willing to release the stories that you've been carrying? Because when it comes to being visible, when it comes to expressing yourself in the truth of your voice and the fullness of who you are, releasing those stories whilst holding the duality of, yes, this is my truth, holding both. That's what we're here to do all the live long day. That's when alignment starts to take place. Because those stories were never personal. They were never like, it's because you're a bad person or it's because you did this bad thing. These are stories that we experience, we go through as part of elevating our consciousness. And so that's why I say they're not personal. These are life experiences. And yes, we survive them. But do we want to continue surviving, or do we want to integrate those stories into our day to day, even if it's messy, our unfiltered true self, even if it means you're letting go of people pleasing, even if it means that you're completely unfiltered in who you are. Because when you let that vibrate and you hold the duality of, I feel fucking uncomfortable being visible, but also soothing and nourishing your nervous system to remind your body and your subconscious that it's safe to do both. The expansion that you're being called forward to comes in, and it becomes much more with ease. And that's when I talk about ease. That's what I mean by ease. Because when you're living that work and you're embodying that duality, the ease of doing it, even if it's very difficult, becomes, that's just who I am. That's just the way I am. And an example I share with this is, and it's personal. I wasn't sure if I'm going to share with this or not, but I will do it. I wasn't sure if I was going to show up today because I had a family emergency for the past couple of days, and I thought, okay, it's my husband's in hospital. Do I show up? And ordinarily, I'm like, no, it's too hard. It's too difficult. I want to focus on that. But because I've been doing the work, I was like, fuck this. I can hold both. I can actually hold both of saying, yes, I'm worried. Yes, I'm nervous. Yes, I'm anxious. Yes, I'm not sure how I'm going to show up today. Yes, I'm not sure how I'm going to be. But I'm here to be in the truth of who I am. I'm here to be in my soul's truth. And I'm not here to survive anymore. So holding both, that's what we're here to do. It's part of life. It's part of who I am. It's part of who you are. And when you let that vibrate and you know that where you need to be is being that leader, building your company in a decisive, unapologetic way, being bold and being paid for it because you know what you stand for and your opinion matters without dimming down, without that cloak that you're carrying, You get to the point where you know that there's no universal truth whatsoever, but just your truth. Just your truth. Energy is real. And you don't need to be apologetic for being visible and going up against your edge. So I just want to move on to the methodology, to be fully expressed, to be seen, and speak your truth in the same time. And this goes completely contra to all the rule books, all the things you've been taught, like, yes, I need clarity first. I need I need calm, or I need confidence. You have to remember, as I said earlier, that certainty is not the same as clarity. And most people don't want to move through dealing with clarity and confidence. They want the certainty. So if I make this move, tell me it's going to work out. That is not clarity. For me, clarity is the question of your authority in an authentic way. And remember I said it earlier that, mastery of your energetics is the most potent, the most magnetic thing. So when you're observing your thoughts and your nervous system response, you're able to then slow down and decode what you're activating or where you're constricting yourself from being visible. Your throat always speaks your truth. And so if your authority of being heard, and you're sort of swallowing your words, like, can you imagine being in a meeting or talking to a client or in a boardroom and you're literally holding back your word, like literally swallowing your words down your throat? Can you imagine that is doing, imprinting onto your body and your nervous system? That is saying, I am not safe. That is saying danger. So that's going, more danger, more danger. Or can you imagine that tightness in your chest? You know that burning sensation that you get in your chest, like between your breast area, that means that you're holding back because you're thinking that you're going to be misunderstood or worse, even being rejected. And, let's face it, all us humans, we live to feel belonged. We just want to belong, right? This is your body telling you that you're going to be exposed. So can you imagine on top of that, your soul saying to you, I've tried this before and it didn't work. And it's screaming with these imprints and these thought forms, flagging these risks. You're just like, no, not going to do it. No. Visibility is not safe. I'd rather stay at this set point. I'd rather stay at this income. I'd rather stay at this small business. And I say that is selfish. That is the most selfish thing anyone could ever do. So the process or the starting point is really zoning in on the level of intensity that you're experiencing, because this is calling you to expand. It's calling you to expand and stretch your bubble, your capacity, both your nervous system and your subconscious, your set point, without worrying or bracing that it's going to fall over or you're going to collapse. And once you do that and you practice it and you do it and you do it and it just, expansion is the only way and it naturally builds. So today for me, the best thing I could have done is actually show up here, because I actually feel very expanded. So here's what I just want to share in terms of the process. The starting point is this. Instead of starting with clarity and confidence, start with consciousness. The inside, the internal part of you, from the lens, it might seem woo, but the spiritual lens of finding your voice and your personal insights, which naturally builds over time. So for those leaders or business owners that, are on, whether it's 10, 15, 30, 50K, want to get bigger, start with that internal strategic lens, not the strategy, the internal strategic lens from the higher vision lens and the personal insights around where am I not calling myself forward in the fullness of my power? Where am I not fully seeing myself first and foremost? And then where am I hiding my energetics in my business? And then the second point is to, once you have that consciousness, once you have that awareness and you're playing with that field, you're playing with that conscious field and you're connecting into the truth of who you are, you then move into that calm space where you move from chaos and confusion into calm, where you're able to perceive that inner knowing, the intuition, that the downloads that you're getting, that thinking I need to use these downloads to run my business. When you're getting them, they become your strategy, not the I have to run my business like this. They become your strategy that you're getting in that calm space. And you're perceiving and sensing where you're being asked to step forward in your leadership and where you'd been resisting. So this is where you start to integrate that threat of visibility, because you're like, yep, I want bigger. I want bigger authority. I want bigger leadership. I want bigger activations. And the old circuitry and the memories that were there lingering starts to dissolve out without the big drama, without creating the big drama. Because if you think about it, the more you plow through and do the bro thing of I'm just going to plow through and do this, the drama turns up, the dramatics turns up, and you go, okay, maybe it's not meant for me. Maybe this isn't the right time. Maybe I need more confidence. Maybe I need a different strategy. No, when you're in that calm space, the dramas will show up. That's just life. Or thinking that you have to burn the place down. The answer is no, you don't. It's asking you to, where are you? It's pulling you forward into that full leadership, the ones that you are here to deliver on. And so when you start to expand, the clarity comes and it comes faster. And then you start to run your business in a way that works for you and your visibility naturally. It evolves into your voice. If you look at the big guns, the likes of Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins and all those different people, you see that they have a unique USP. That's something that they have practiced and worked on. It didn't happen overnight. But they didn't say, I need a strategy and I need to do this, or I need to go push through. They have specific methods that they work with to find that consciousness, to connect within, to then go to the calm space, to then receive the clarity. And it comes faster. So you're able to lead and run and evolve into that voice and into that visibility, so much more than it being seen as a threat or a danger. And the clarity then becomes the catharsis, and it becomes real. So you're not afraid of being seen. You're not afraid of the money. You're not afraid of the big wealth. And it's not resisting you. So your body stops protecting you in the way of keeping you in the set point. It starts protecting you in, this is safe. It's okay. You go, girl. You go, guy. You go do what you need to do. And that's a very different way to get the confidence. And honestly, that continuity of the confidence is where you start to grow and expand, and your body just feels really steady and proud, and just like, I'm proud of you, you go. And then the regulation comes in. So you're no longer suppressing your visibility or the truth of who you are or your voice. And it gets to be easeful. It gets to be, oh, okay, this is not as bad as I thought. I can be bigger. I can be on that stage. I can express myself. I can say the things that I want to say. Of course, I'm going to be judged, but that means those people are not for me, or that means that I'm offering a different opinion and they're receiving it. Of course. So your vision then becomes less about the chase and more about the capacity. And your voice becomes more expressive, more truthful, more authentic, less polished. If this is resonating or if this isn't making sense, I'd love to hear what you're thinking or what's going through your mind right now. Um, but I think that the age and the time of saying we need more clarity, we need more confidence it's out of date because sitting sitting and saying it is very different to working through what your nervous system, what the body is asking you to work through, what you're being called forward to into your leadership, into that expressive, expansive business that you know you're here to experience and share with others. And by following someone else's method, by following someone else's blueprint, isn't going to get you there. That bigger authority, that bigger leadership, that bigger business with bigger impact, that big vision is where you start to activate the edge of your entrepreneurship, the edge of your leadership. And it can only get better and better and better. And then when others see you're doing that, they're like, yeah, I want some of that. Of course. That feels juicy. That feels really yummy. And that is what brings that calm. So the 4 steps that I just really encourage us to wrap up is starting with the consciousness, the truth of who you really are, that going internally first and just quietly ask. Or one way of doing this, it's literally 30-second exercise, and I'll share it with you very, very quickly. One way of doing it is just finding a quiet place, finding a really quiet spot where you're not going to be interrupted, and go to a happy place. It could be by water, it could be, on top of a mountain, it could be anywhere that you feel happy and content and safe. And simply just sit and ask your body to step forward. Just in your mind's eye or in your heart, just ask your body to step forward. And then ask some questions of your body. Just ask, what are you feeling right now? What is it that you want to experience right now? Really ask, where do you not feel safe? Where do you feel that we are holding ourselves back? Do an audit, excuse me, with your body, and do the same with your subconscious or your higher self. And yes, they do talk back to you. And really ask, what are we ready to step into? Where am I holding myself back? Where am I not showing the fullness of my leadership? What message am I really holding back on? And they will start to unlock and release the pathway for you to really see that where you are today is just literally the tip of the iceberg of where you are meant to be at. And they'll also reveal to you the areas or the things that we need to work on to expand into our fullness and our capacity. It takes no more than 2-3 minutes to do this, at the most. And then I'd just encourage you, if you're a voice person, actually, yes, this is super. I would just encourage you to record it and let it speak back to you. Because it will then truly become less about the chase and more about the embodiment of that identity. And you'll look back and you think, my goodness, what was I so afraid of? What was I really scared of? And it's science. It's nervous system science and it's subconscious reprogramming. Because this is exactly where you're meant to be. And so that brings us to a close. If you want to learn more, if you want to expand, I'm doing this 8-week activation series on Substack, which talks about the wounds that we carry and, read those and see which ones resonate. Because I don't believe in accidents or coincidence. We're all here as part of a greater consciousness to elevate and shift the consciousness of this world. And we're here to play our part. And with that, I will say thank you. And thank you for allowing me to dive into this particular topic about being visible and using your voice to fully express the truth of who you are, because this is the time. Enjoy the rest of the day and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week.